What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first tutorial in the Matplotlib tutorial series. Today I'm going to show you guys just the most basic of just getting some plots and graphing it. If you were like me, originally all I wanted to do, and it was just I have some stuff and I just want to plot it on my computer. I didn't really care about anything too fancy. I just wanted to plot some plots. And if you're like me, you're going to do that, and then later on you're going to long to make stuff colorful and have some dynamic stuff to it, maybe even get live updates, you know, so the graph itself refreshes automatically. You don't have to close and reopen and reload. So anyway, what I'm going to do is just start from the very basics and move along. Right away, what you're going to want to do is you'll have to import Matplotlib. Right now all we're doing is using pyplot, and we want to import that as PLT. You don't have to do this. You could import it as whatever you wanted, XXY if you wanted, but generally if you look anywhere for documents or examples, this is how people are going to denote Matplotlib. And the other thing I suggest you get, I'm not going to show you guys at the moment, but NumPy. You also import NumPy as NP. However, again, we're not really going to be using that in this tutorial, so I'm just going to comment it out. And how do you get Matplotlib if you don't have it? Well, this was probably one of the easiest imports to get. You just go to matplotlib.org. Let me get back to the home for you. And then you click on downloads, and then you come down here to whatever version you have. If you listen to me in one of my others, or listen to just about anybody else, you probably have Python 2.7, and I personally have Win32. You might have AMD 64. You'll have to figure that out on your own, or you could even have one of these. You could also download the tarball. But the easiest thing is just to use the exe. It works well. Although I will admit, just mention that if you do have the problem, like if it says you don't have Python installed, the way around that again is to go into System, Control Panel, and you want to edit your environmental variables. So you go to Control Panel, System, Advanced Settings or something like that, Environment Variables, and then you need to add the Python directory to your path. Just I think it's a semicolon, then that directory. So anyways, back to this. So we've imported matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. So all you have to do, it's very simple. All you have to do is you want to call the matplotlib.pyplot with this, and then you want to tell it we want to plot. And so we're going to plot, our x will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll plot y's, the corresponding y, 4, 7, 9, and 12. Okay? And you always have to have an equal number of variables on either side. I mean, that sounds common sense, but later on it can be kind of hard, like if you're matching up two x's, because like later on usually what ends up happening is you have some sort of process that identifies x. So later on you'd have a variable just called x, and you'll have x here, and you'll have y here, and these will correspond to maybe a huge list or a huge array, and sometimes the arrays don't match up in length, and so that'll be a problem later on. You almost certainly run into it at least once, and that'll be your problem. And then, so once you've told it to plot that, the only other thing you have to do is plot show, and then you run this, and you'll get this pop up here, and here we go. We've got all 4 plots here. This is the first, second, third, and fourth. Now you can do all kinds of fun, fancy stuff with Matplotlib. Once you have more and more data, you can use some of this stuff. But this is the zoom function. You just click on it. You'll see this little arrow, and then you can zoom into plots. Now like I said, we don't really have too many, but you still can. If you accidentally, like you got here where you wanted to be, and then you're like, oh shoot, I just misclicked or whatever, you can use the back function. If you misclicked the back function, you're like, shoot, you could go back forward again. It's kind of like a browser. And then if you just happen to get so lost and you're just like, oh gosh, now I got to reload it. No, you don't. You can just hit home, and it takes you back to the original image. Then you can also use this, and it's kind of like a click and drag. You can move this around, up and down, all that. But again, if you do that and you're like, ah, shoot, I don't want that, you can do that. And finally, this little button here. Well, actually, no. Finally, we still have the save, but the save is pretty simple. You just save the picture. You can save it as anything you want. You just type it in, and it's called a tagged image file format. But you can also just take a screenshot using the print screen. I've never really used this, but I think you can save like dynamics of the picture or of the graph if you wanted to. This. Okay, this is the only useful part of this to me. It brings up this window. Oh shoot, I'm back. I hate Windows Shake. I don't know anybody else who has Windows 7, but this little like shake option, like I'll show you, shake a window and everything goes away. When I first got this, I didn't know that you could reshake it again and everything would come back, and I'd have like maybe like 30 windows open, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I have to like go open them and stuff. And then one of my buddies that actually has a Mac told me to just shake it again, and I was just thoroughly embarrassed. Anyway, okay, so what this does is you can kind of reshape this stuff. So this is the left, and it is usually corresponding to these the actual chart itself. So as you can see, there's the chart, then you've got like this like background space, and then you've actually got the frame or the window right around here. And so you can say like, okay, left here, I want this to be like that, and then from the bottom you can do this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, you get the point. I'm not sure what W space is, to be honest. I can't remember what this is. I think it has something to do with if there's multiple, like if there's another chart here. I want to say it's the space between two charts, because sometimes like if you have too many charts, the numbers can overlap each other, and you still will override it by squishing it like this. But if you have a lot of different charts, that's what that H space and W space is. And actually, I can probably bring up one of my charts and show you an example. One moment. Okay, now bear in mind these charts are, well, first of all, you'll notice they're color-coded and stuff, and these are also live updating charts. I believe it's on like a 15 or 30-second timer, so don't pay any attention to that if they start changing color on us. But I just want to show you the head space and not like width space, or I'm not quite positive what they stand for, but I like to think of them as head space and I don't know, wide space. So as you can see, since like this chart is actually made for my full screen monitor, so they're normally not overlapping, but now they are. And so what you can do is change this. Of course, now I'm not being able to edit this stuff. Why won't you let me edit you? Okay, here we go. So you can say, okay, I don't want any. And so now they're allowed to just overlap each other. You can do the same thing with this. And now they're allowed to just overlap each other. So if you're running out of space or whatnot. But generally you want to be able to read your charts. So you'd want to make it maybe bigger so we can really space them out. Anyway, so really the purpose for head space and white space, or width space, or whatever, if you know what the letters actually stand for, I just think of this as up and down and side to side. What this will be used for later is you can actually hard code this stuff right in. So like on that chart I have there, it's actually hard coded in, but again, no matter how hard you code it, if you squish the window up enough, it'll still disobey. But what you can do is just code it in. So what you can do is use this window and kind of mess with these parameters till you see something you kind of like, and then take these numbers and you import that into your script. So those are the basics to putting up a chart. Now the next thing that you absolutely must have on every chart, if you've been in grade school or anything, and you should know and taken a math class, that every graph has to have what? A title, no matter what. Otherwise the teacher took off a bunch of points from you. And so we'll just say Matplotlib example title. Okay. And then what else did you have to do? You had to label your X and Y axes. So pretty simple. X label, and we'll call this matplot X label Y. Then you have to do your Y label. do matplot y label. And now we'll save it and run it. And as you can see, we have matplot example title, y label, x label. Later on, you can do all kinds of stuff with this. You can affect the size, the way it angles. You can affect the way the numbers angle. Like if you have dates down here, a lot of times the dates will run over each other. So you can get them to be kind of crooked and sideways-ish, and so they fit. We can change the color of the lines. You can do all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to show you guys a few other things in some later tutorials, although coloring is definitely not going to be the next one, I don't think. The next most useful thing is not hard coding your data, because right now we're doing this, and so most people are going to either have a notepad file or an Excel file, which really they're interchangeable. You could call an Excel a notepad or save a notepad as an Excel. As long as it's comma separated, it doesn't really matter. So I'll show you guys how to load that stuff in and continue plotting in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.